students, and welcome in the online session of class 9th Science. Today we are going to start the new chapter, the fundamental unit of life. In this chapter, we are going to study completely about cell. This video session will cover the topics discovery and history of cell, instruments to study the cell theory, and types of organisms. So let's begin with the first topic, that is introduction to cell. Students, it is always said that cell is the basic and fundamental unit of life. This is because all the living organisms, they are made up of cells. Their body is made up of cell. Cell is the structural and functional unit of life. This is the definition for cell. Cell is the structural and functional unit of life. Now, why we are calling cell as the structural and functional unit of life? This is because cell has made all the human beings, cell has made all the plants, cell has made all the other insects and all the types of living organisms which are present on this earth. So we call cell as the structural unit because it gives the shape to an organism. Because cell made the whole body of an organism, it gives shape to the organism. That's why we are calling it as the structural unit of our life. And why we are calling it as a functional unit of life? Because the cell can perform all the functions which are going on in the body of the living organism. Okay, whether we do respiration, excretion, nutrition, all the functions are done by the cell. That's why cell is called the structural and the functional unit of life. Now we cannot see the cell with our naked eyes. Okay, this is because cell is very small in size and we cannot see the cell with the help of our naked eyes. Naked eyes means with our open eyes we cannot see the cell. But to see the cell we have to take the help of a device which is known as microscope. Okay, microscope, as you can see in the diagram here also, this is the diagram of a microscope. So this is the instrument which helps to see the cell. Okay, you can see here a plate, a dish is kept here in which some specimens are kept. So here are the lens through which the material which is kept in the dish could be seen. Okay, so such type of small organisms which cannot be seen with our naked eyes, they can be seen with the help of the microscope. Fine. Now here this is the diagram of the cell which we are going to discuss in detail later on. So let's move on to the next slide and see about the discovery and history of the cell. How the word cell has come, who has discovered the cell, what is the history of the cell. So let us start and see. So the term cell is coined by the scientist Robert Hooke. Okay, the name cell which we are using nowadays for the structural and functional unit of life was first of all given by Robert Hooke. Robert Hooke was the scientist who used this word for the first time. Okay, so he has mentioned this word in his book Micrographia in the year 1665. This is the picture of Robert Hooke, okay, who has given the word cell, who has discovered the cell as well. Fine. Now how he discovered the cell is a story behind this. He examined the thin slices of cork. Students, you know what is cork? Cork is the dead cell of the trees, of the plants. Now suppose this is a trunk, so you might have seen some brown color flakes present on the upper side of the trunk, right? On the older trees you can see some brown colored flakes like this. This is cork. This is the dead cell of the plant. So first of all he observed a dead cell under his primitive microscope. That time microscopes which were used were not very well developed. So the microscope which he was using was called the primitive microscope. A diagram is given here, children. This is the primitive microscope which he was using to see the cell. Okay, but first of all he has seen the cells of the cork of a plant, and these cork cells, they are the dead cells. Okay, and when he observed this cork cells in the microscope, he was surprised to see that the cork has a structure like honeybee. So when he observed these cork cells under the microscope, he found that the cork cells were looking like honeybee. Okay, so this is the structure which he saw under the microscope. So like honeybee like structure was, honeycomb like structure was seen here. As you all know that in the honeycomb there are small compartments. Here also you can see small parts, right? These are the small compartments, right? So they look like honeycomb like, and that's why he gave the word to these compartments as cellulae. He first used the word cellulae, and nowadays this cellulae word is changed and now we are calling it as the cell. Okay, so how he discovered the cell? So he saw the cork cells of the trees under the primitive microscope, and he found that the cork cells were looking like honeycomb. Okay, and each compartment present in this honeycomb like structure was given the name cellulae, and nowadays the same structure is known as cell. Fine. And students, this you have to keep in mind that the cells which he saw under the microscopes were dead cells. Cork cells of the plant are dead cells. Okay, now let us see the next slide. Antony van Leeuwenhoek. Now Leeuwenhoek is the another scientist who is also known as the father of microbiology. So what he did, children, he designed improved microscope. He first of all designed some new types of microscopes, and under the microscope he saw the pond water. He took a single drop of pond water and saw under the new improved microscope in 1664, and what he found, he again saw the cells in the pond water. Okay, because in the pond water small microorganisms are present, small insects, small animals are present which we cannot see with our naked eyes. Okay, so this was the structure which he saw when he used the single drop of pond water under the microscope. Okay, so this is the structure of a living cell, students. Okay, Robert Hooke saw a dead cell under the microscope, but Leeuwenhoek saw a living cell under the microscope. So this was the structure which he saw under the microscope. Okay, now let's see the next slide. Again, we are studying about the history of the cell. So again, let us see some two scientists what they did. So one was Schleiden and the other was Schwann. Okay, Schleiden was a botanist, means those who study the plants, and Schwann was the zoologist, which study the animals. Okay, so these two scientists, what they said, that Schleiden, as he was studying the plants, so he said that all the plants are composed of cells, means all the plants are made up of cells only. And Schwann, who was the zoologist, was studying the animals. He also said that all the animals are composed of cell. Okay, so what is the conclusion out of this? That Schleiden and Schwann said that all the plants and animals are composed of cell, means their complete body is made up of cells only. Okay. Now next is, what instruments are used for studying the cell? Because cell cannot be seen with the naked eyes, so some instrument might be used to see them. Okay, so microscope, as already we have discussed, that microscope is that instrument which is used to see the cell. So microscope is common optical instrument used to observe the cell. It is mainly of two types. One is light microscope. Now student, this is the structure of the light microscope, and another one is electron microscope. So mainly there are two types, light microscope and electron microscope. But for further classification, light microscope is classified into, now this light microscope which is using the light to see the cells. So this light microscope is now available in two different forms. One is the simple microscope and the other one is the compound microscope here. Fine. So nowadays which we are using in our labs also, and which are used for further studies and researches also, is the compound microscope. Fine. This is the compound microscope which is used to see the microscopic organisms. The organisms which are very small and which cannot be seen with the naked eyes, they are called microscopic organisms. Okay, because they can only be seen under a microscope. So these are some of the pictures which are showing the different types of microscopes. This is light microscope, electron microscope, simple microscope, and the compound microscope. Okay, so here is the lens fixed for watching, and here also they are the lenses. Fine. So through these lenses the small microscopic organisms can be seen. Now, next topic is cell theory. So, this cell theory was presented by two biologists. Cell theory is given by, okay, this cell theory was given by two biologists. One was Matthias and other was Theodore. So, Matthias and Theodore were the two biologists who gave the cell theory. And the theory was further expanded by Rudolf Virchow. Okay, so you can say that cell theory was given by Matthias, Theodore, and Virchow. Okay, now what does this cell theory state? Means what are the points which are given in the cell theory? So the first point was all the cells arise from pre-existing cells. That means a new cell arises or a new cell is produced from the pre-existing one, from the uh, already existing cell. Okay, like suppose there is a cell. Okay, so now how the new one will be formed from this existing cell? This is the existing cell which is present now. So what this cell will do? This cell will divide. This cell will divide and will break into two cells. This single cell will form two cells after division. Okay, so this is how the new cells are formed. So all the cells, they arise from the pre-existing cells. Okay, already existing cells divide and then they give rise to the new cells. This is the first point of the cell theory. Fine. Now the second statement of the cell theory is that cells are the basic and small units of life. Okay, as we have already done that cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life, because cell made all the human beings, all the animals, all the insects, all the plants, every living organism is made up of cell. So cell is the basic unit of life. Then third point given in the cell theory was that all the living beings, including plants and animals, they all are made up of cell. So these are the 3 points which are given in the cell theory. If the question comes, what is a cell theory? So you have to write these 3 points. Okay, that cell theory states that all the cells arise from the pre-existing cells, means the older cells divide and give rise to the new cells. Then cell is the basic unit of life, and all the plants and animals, they are made up of cell. Fine. Now let's see the next slide. Types of organisms. Types of organisms on the basis of number of cells present in their body. Fine. Now all the animals, plants, insects, they all are not of same size. Okay, size varies. We have very small animals and plants also which cannot be seen with the naked eyes, and we have huge animals and huge plants also. So there is a range from smallest to the biggest one. There is a range of plants and animals present on the earth. Okay, so now number of cells present in their body would not be same. So the number of cells is different in different types of animals and plants. So how many number of cells are present in their body? On the basis of that, organisms can be divided into two. So one is unicellular. Uni means one. Fine. Uni means one. So if the organism has a single cell in its body, fine, organisms with one cell in their body, they are called unicellular organisms, like amoeba, right? All of you have heard the word amoeba. Now amoeba is a single celled organism. Its body is made up of only single cell. Now, and its shape is also irregular shape. You can draw the amoeba anyhow, of any shape you can draw. Fine. So amoeba, and there is a nucleus in the middle. This is amoeba. It is irregular in shape. So this is the body of the amoeba. Now this is a single cell. So in its body there is only one cell. That's why amoeba is called unicellular. Fine. And if the organism is made up of more than one cell, means if in the body of the organism there are many cells present. Multi means many. So if in the body of the organism many cells are present, then the organism is known as multicellular organism. Okay. For example, hydra, plant, animal, humans, they all will come under multicellular. Cow, dog, cat, any example you can quote here in multicellular. And in unicellular, one is amoeba, paramecium, euglena, some more names are also there. So this is all about unicellular and multicellular. Now let's see a flow chart and try to more learn about them. That unicellular organisms can be unicellular and multicellular. Unicellular means organisms that only have a single cell, and multicellular means the organisms which have many cells. So here are some of the examples also quoted. Amoeba, bacteria, paramecium, they are the examples of unicellular. You can see this paramecium, this animal is also known as sleeper shaped animal. As you can see the shape, it looks like a sleeper of the humans, right? So it is also called slipper shaped organism. And in the multicellular you can give the examples of plants, animals, fine. Now let us see the difference between unicellular and multicellular. So the first difference is that body of the organism is composed of single cell. Okay, unicellular means the organism has only one cell in the body, and multicellular means the body of the organism has many cells. Now, this unicellular organisms, they are prokaryotic in nature. Fine. Prokaryotic means that there is no nucleus present in the cell. Okay, as multicellular, they have nucleus present in them. So, unicellular, they do not have a well-developed nucleus present in them. Okay, I am saying well-developed nucleus. That means, suppose this is amoeba. Amoeba is unicellular, but amoeba is eukaryotic. Amoeba has a well developed nucleus, but if in the cell, suppose that there is no nuclear boundary, like this is one cell which is having nucleus, right? So this is well developed, all the DNA, chromosomes, they are present in the nucleus here, fine. But if suppose this is the cell where there is no nucleus and all the DNA and chromosomes, they are present as it is in the cytoplasm, they are spread in the cytoplasm like this. So this is called prokaryotic, means they do not have a well definite, well developed nucleus, they do not have a nuclear membrane also, fine. They are called prokaryotic, fine. You might have studied in 8th standard also. Then multicellular, they are eukaryotic, means they have a well developed nucleus, they have all the cell organelles, mitochondria, lysosomes, endoplasmic reticulum, all the membrane bound organelles are present in multicellular, fine. Then unicellular, because there is a single cell in the body, so they only go for asexual reproduction, fine. They only go for asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction means that a single cell of the animal will break into two, and after reproduction the cell will divide into two cells. This is asexual reproduction, fine. Now in sexual reproduction, as in humans and in plants also, the animals give birth to the babies. That is sexual type of reproduction where two parents are required, fine. In asexual, only a single parent is required, a single cell will break into two. So unicellular organisms always reproduce by asexual method, whereas multicellular will reproduce by sexual method. Now in unicellular, a single cell carries out all the life process, means a single cell will perform all the functions, respiration, nutrition, digestion, excretion, everything will be done by that single cell. Whereas in case of multicellular organisms, different cells will perform different functions, right? Like the cells of the stomach have different functions, the cells of the lungs have different functions, the cells of the heart have different functions. So there is division of labor present. This is called division of labor, fine. Means the work is divided. Division of labor means the work is divided, whereas in unicellular there is no division of labor, fine. No division of labor, everything has to be done by that single cell. Now, injury of the cell can cause death of the organism. In case of unicellular, if the cell gets some injury, then the animal will definitely die, because there is a single cell, and if that single cell get injured, so there are more chances of the death of the organism. But in case of multicellular, injury of death of some cells does not affect the organism. Suppose we had an injury in our hand, so it is not very specific that the person will die, because injury is on some of the specific cells, not the complete body. But in unicellular, that one cell is the complete body, so injury of the cell may cause death. But in case of multicellular, injury or death of some cells does not affect the organisms. Then example of unicellular is amoeba, and in case of multicellular you can give the example of any plant or any animal. Humans also included in multicellular. This was the difference between unicellular and multicellular organisms. Now, next is shape, size and number of cells. Now cells are not of same shape, All the cells are not of same shape, same size or same number. So say all the cells have different shape, different size and different number as well. Now cells vary in shape, size and number. Shapes of the cells depend upon their position. What is the shape of the cell? That depends on position of the cell, where the cell is present. Whether the cell is present in hand, whether the cell is present on the nose, whether the cell is present on the cheeks. So the shape of the cell is dependent on position of the cell in the body. Then what is the function of the cell? Okay, what the cell has to do, that will also decide the shape of the cell. Okay, and the interaction with the neighboring cells. Fine. How the cell interacts with the neighboring cells, how many cells are present nearby that cell, that also decide the shape of the cell. Okay, so there are 3 points on which the shape of the cell depends. One is position in the body, function, and third the interaction with the neighboring cells. Fine. Now cells also vary in their size. Now different cells have different sizes also. Some are very small cells and some cells are bigger also. Okay, so most of the human cells, they range in the diameter from 8 to 25 micrometers. This is the size of the human cells, normal human cells, 8 to 25 micrometers. Cells are microscopic in nature. All the cells are very small, though they differ in their size, but still majority of the cells are microscopic. If we have to see the cell, we have to use a microscope. Okay. Now let us see some pictures of some of the cells. Now here you can see that this ovum cell, it is spherical in shape, right? It is circular in shape, spherical in shape. And here you can see this sperm, this is a long fiber like cell, right? Here the bone cell is branched cell. Okay, blood cells are also circular, spherical in shape. This is again long branched cell. This is a spindle shape. This shape is the spindle shaped, right? So cells are of varying shapes and sizes. Okay. Now next is types of organisms on the basis of types of cells. What type of cell is present in the body of the organism? On the basis of that, organism can be divided into two categories. One is prokaryotic cell, and other one is eukaryotic cell. Fine. So prokaryotes means organisms that lack a nuclear membrane. Okay, that means suppose this is the cell and there is a nucleus in between. Normally there is a nucleus, right? But these cells do not have nuclear membrane. Okay, if there is no nuclear membrane, then how you will draw the nucleus? Okay, like suppose if you have drawn this, so this is what, this is nuclear membrane you have drawn, and all the DNA and chromosomes will be present inside the nucleus. Fine. But in case of prokaryotes, what happens? Suppose this is the cell, so there is no nuclear membrane. So all the DNA, chromosome, they will be spread in the cytoplasm. This is the liquid present in the cell, which is called cytoplasm, right? So there is no nuclear membrane. There is no membrane surrounding this DNA. So when there is lack in nuclear membrane, they are called prokaryotes. And nucleolus is also absent. In the nucleus, suppose this is nucleus, in the nucleus there is one more structure present, round structure, which is called nucleolus. So in prokaryotes, this nucleolus is also absent. Fine. And prokaryotic organisms are generally unicellular in nature. Prokaryotes are generally unicellular in nature. For example, here is bacteria. Bacteria is a prokaryotic organism. Means in bacteria, the body will be unicellular and there will be no nuclear membrane also, and nucleolus will also be absent. Fine. Whereas in eukaryotes, they are those organisms which have a nuclear membrane. Suppose this is cell. So they have the nuclear membrane also. They will have a nucleolus also present inside it. Fine. So they are called eukaryotic. Let's see the diagrams now. This is the diagram of a prokaryotic bacteria. Fine. Now you can see here that this is the DNA. This blue color is the DNA. Fine. This is cell wall outside. Okay. This is plasma membrane also present here. DNA also present. Ribosomes present. But you cannot see the nuclear membrane. There is no nuclear membrane surrounding this DNA. Fine. DNA is spread in the cytoplasm. This light blue shade cytoplasm is present. So DNA is floating in the cytoplasm of the cell. So this is prokaryotic cell. Fine. Let us see the eukaryotic cell now. This is again one of the prokaryotic cell where you can see there is no nuclear membrane, no nucleoid. Okay. nucleolus. Now let's see the eukaryotic cell. Here you can see that a nucleus is present. Fine. This is the nucleus present here. This one. And in the nucleus there is nucleolus. This round spherical structure nucleolus is also present here. Mitochondria is also present here. Ribosomes present here. Fine. So you can see the difference here that there is no nucleus here. All the DNA and all materials are spread in the cytoplasm in case of prokaryotes, whereas in eukaryote there is a nucleus, nuclear membrane is present, then there is the spherical structure called nucleolus also present in the nucleus. Fine. Now let us see the difference between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell. So prokaryotic cells have tough cell wall. Okay, so prokaryotic cell has a cell wall also, whereas in eukaryotic cell, if you see the diagram again, you can see that there is a cell wall, right? In prokaryotes there is a cell wall, but in case of eukaryotes there is only a cell membrane. Cell membrane is present, not the cell wall. Okay, so this is the first difference, that prokaryotes have cell wall whereas eukaryotes have a plasma membrane, which is also called the cell membrane. Then prokaryotes, they does not have nucleus. Fine. Whereas eukaryotes, they have a nucleus in the center. Then prokaryotes, the cell bears several organelles like mitochondria, Golgi complex. These all are present in the prokaryotes also, right? Whereas the cell organelles are actually, here it is wrong written. Cell organelles are present, right? Cell organelles are present. It is written little opposite here. And in case of prokaryotes, these cell organelles are absent here. Okay, just make a change here. Prokaryotic cells, all the cell organelles will be absent. Fine. This is wrong actually typed here in the picture. Prokaryotic cell, all the cell organelles will be absent, whereas in case of eukaryotic cell, all the cell organelles will be present. Fine. Make a change here. Now here the DNA will be circular. The DNA will be circular, whereas in case of eukaryotic the DNA is linear thread-like structure in eukaryotes. Okay. Here example is bacteria, and here all the multicellular organisms will be the examples of eukaryotic. Okay, so these are the different point between prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Students, please make this change here, that prokaryotic cells do not have the cell organelles. They do not have the cell organelles like mitochondria, Golgi complex, whereas in eukaryotic cells the cell organelles are present. Fine, please keep this change in mind. Now next is virus. Fine, now this is a very um common topic. Okay, and nowadays you can see that this virus, which virus is spread nowadays everywhere, which has kept us in lockdown. Okay, so coronavirus, yes. So this is the structure of the coronavirus. Actually, I'm not going to tell you about coronavirus here, but general we are studying about the virus. So viruses, they are the non-cellular structures, right? Non-cellular structure means they do not have a particular cell. Okay, they possess a genetic material DNA enclosed in a protein coat. They do not have any cell. Viruses, they have only a protein coat, a protein cover, and in this protein cover inside there is a DNA or there is a RNA. Okay, that is the genetic material. Either DNA or RNA will be present, and this DNA will be covered with the protein covering. This is now virus. Fine. So they do not show characteristics of life until they enter a living body. That means viruses, when they are outside the body, they are non-living. Okay, when they are outside the body, they are non-living. They do not show any characteristic of life. But once they come inside the body of the living organism, then what they will do? They become living. Okay, means virus, when it is in the atmosphere, it is non-living. Once the virus enters the living organism, they become living, and they use the host cell machinery to reproduce. Means when they will enter any human body or any animal body, then they will use the cells present in the body of the living organism, and then the virus will start reproducing. Means the virus will start dividing. One virus will become 2, 2 will become 4, 4 will become 6, and that's how the infection increases. Okay, so the virus, when enters the living organism, they reproduce, start reproducing, and their number goes on increasing. Viruses are therefore called the living chemicals. Okay, like chemicals are harmful for us, in the same way these viruses are also harmful for us, and they are living when they enter in our body. That's why we call them as living chemicals. Fine. So this was all about virus, that virus do not have any cell structure. They have only a DNA or a RNA which is covered by a protein covering. And when they are outside the living body, they are non-living. Once they enter any living body, they become living and they start reproducing. Okay, they start multiplying and then they cause infection in the body of the organism. Fine. Now, let us summarize what we have done today, children. So, we started with the discovery of the cell by Robert Hooke. Then discovery by Leeuwenhoek, means the Leeuwenhoek has watched the living cell under the microscope. Robert Hooke has watched the dead cell under the microscope. Then we studied about the cell theory, which was given by Matthias, Theodore, and the Virchow. Then prokaryotic and eukaryotic organisms and cells we have studied, then unicellular and multicellular. So this all topics we have covered today. I hope the topics are clear to you. If not, you can ask your doubts anytime. Okay. So we'll meet in the next session. Till then, all of you stay home and stay safe.